Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome along to this Discovery webinar about the PE Life Skills Award. We're delighted to have so many of you join us today, so a big thank you for your time this afternoon. We're expecting a healthy number of people. I know some people will still be finishing up their busy days and joining us as they go along, but we're keen to start on time, so we finish on time as well. We've scheduled an hour for this webinar. We don't expect it to take that long. So I'll certainly give you some time back towards the end, and we'll go through as quick as we can in order to give you all the information you need. We're looking forward this afternoon to sharing with you information and good practice on all aspects of the PE Life Skills Award. There's a number of us on the call today. Myself, I'm Gareth Buckley. I'm the Accreditation Manager at the Leadership Skills Foundation. My role is to support centres that deliver the Accredited Awards programme with us, of which Peltra is one of them. So I support schools in getting signed up, getting approved at the start, supporting them through delivery questions along the journey, and importantly, at the end of the journey, getting certification and awarding learners that have successfully completed it. I'm joined by one of my colleagues who is Joe.
Hi everyone, thanks Gaz. So I'm the kind of PELSA representative for Leadership Skills Foundation. My title is Business Development Officer, but I'll be helping you get on board and support you throughout your journey with us if you are to sign up. Thank you.
And from the Youth Sport Trust, we're joined by James and Jade.
Thanks, Gaz. I'll take the liberty of jumping in, Jade, if that's okay. Yeah, thanks everyone. Lovely to be with you. My name's James Walker. By trade, I am a secondary PE teacher. And so after around 15 years or so of being a teacher of PE and a head of PE, I've been with the Youth Sport Trust now for around 5 years in the role of development manager for secondary PE. So our primary purpose in our little education team, which Jade is a direct colleague of mine, we serve to sort of try and equip educators with up-to-date and sort of innovative knowledge and experiences. And for this specific piece of work, Youth Sport Trust have worked directly alongside Leadership Skills Foundation around the PE Life Skills Award. I'll hand to Jade.
Thanks, James. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. So as James said, we work for the Youth Sport Trust. I'm Jade. I am the primary PE development manager. I've been in this role for around a year now, so still relatively new. Before that, I was a primary school PE teacher, teaching from nursery up through to year 6. So hopefully lots of experience to help with any questions today. And yeah, let's get started. Back to you, Gaz.
Wow, thank you. A little bit of housekeeping. First thing to make you all aware of, this session is being recorded and will be made available to those that have registered for the webinar afterwards. So if you wanted to watch back particular bits or can't stay until the end, you'll be able to do so. We've put everyone's microphone on mute. That's just for the benefit of having no background noise or interference. However, we would love to hear from you at certain points during the session. So we're going to take pauses after each section. We'd love some questions. So if you've got a question that's burning as we're going through, feel free to type into the chat. Joe's going to monitor those, and then when we pause, we'll kind of have a roundup of questions, but also there's a raise your hand function. So when we pause for questions, if you want to raise your hand, we'd gladly come and unmute your microphone and we can hear from you verbally and have that interaction. So please do ask questions as we go along. We'll do our very best to answer those questions as well. PELSA was launched in 2021, so we're now in the 5th year of its award delivery as a joint partnership between Leadership Skills Foundation and Youth Sports Trust. We've learned so much in those 5 years, and we're in a great position to be able to share some of that with you today. So the session today is going to fall into 4 topic areas. Firstly, we're going to start by giving you an overview of the award, how it's broken down, what's involved with it. The second part, we're going to have a look at resources. There's loads of great resources that's going to help you deliver this award. You haven't got to go away and create things. We've done all that hard work for you and refined it over the years. Particularly over this last year, we've had some great feedback from schools and have updated the resources to make them even better for your school usage. Thirdly, we're going to share some good practice. As I said, we've had schools that delivered the award over the last 5 years. They've shared with us some great examples of where they've embedded within their schools, some of the impacts they've had, some of the things that's worked really well and some of the learnings that have taken place. So we'll be able to share those with you for when you're looking to embed it in your school, you can jump straight on and be ahead of the game. Finally, we'll have questions and answers throughout. So as I said, please do type them into the chat. Joe's going to monitor those. And also we'll have a roundup at the end to cover for any questions that you might have. And we'll confirm the next steps as to how you might get started on your journey for delivering the PE Life Skills Award. The Pelser Schools Network. So currently in this academic year, we've got 115 schools that are delivering it. And you can see that's across a range of contexts in primary schools, secondary schools, and SEND settings. So the awards fits in all different age ranges, all different ability ranges as well. And we'll see that as we go through the award in more detail shortly. To give you a little bit of context, for the last academic year, we do some reporting and monitoring on the schools that deliver it. We had over 3,500 pupils gain the award, and that's across the different stages, which we're going to show you in a second. As an average for the schools that claim certification, it was 87. So a healthy number there. And that ranged from one school claiming over 300 certificates, where they've embedded it across a whole year group, to some smaller settings where they're just working with a handful of learners. So your settings are all going to vary, and what we're trying to say to you today is how that can fit into your different delivery models. We've had loads of great feedback from the schools over the years. Pulled a few example quotes onto the screen here, which you can read. But it's quite nice to see how they fit into different areas across their schools, about how pupils learn to interact and treat each other better, how it's supported with their aspirations, how it's improved behaviour of pupils, how it's linked into personal and class and year group achievements, how it's improved attendance, and how it's built different elements of their character and their traits. So we know all these things are great, and we want to share those with you across today. So what we're going to do with first is give you an overview of the award, where it started from and how it breaks down. So to start with, I'm going to hand over to James to talk you through how the award works.
Thanks, Gaz. Hi again, everyone. Yeah, so for context then, the PE Life Skills Award, or PELSA, as we affectionately shorten it, it's approaching 5 years old now, I think. It was released just as I started working for YST, so I think that's about right. And it was actually sort of accelerated due to us coming back in and due to children going back into schools after the pandemic. And the sort of need, the purpose for it being created in the first place was that as an organisation, we were hearing from the networks, from both the school and the employer side, that this was a need. The employers were saying that children are leaving school and entering the workplace or even further education ill-equipped to cope with the demands of those worlds. But likewise, teachers were saying, and research suggests that actually the purpose of education isn't just to fill children up and inundate them with endless amounts of knowledge that actually in this fast-paced world that we live in can soon be out of date. So a real thirst, I think, from all parties to equip children with skills that were transferable and would remain relevant whether AI develops at the pace it is or not, to keep our children sort of equipped to deal with the world. Next slide, please, guys. And so the PE Life Skills Award essentially is about educating the whole child. What it entails is engineering learning experiences through PE that harness life skills and that are essential not just in the physical education environment, but beyond that as well. In doing so, it equips learners to cope with setbacks, to problem solve, to culture skills that allow them to be excellent team players, and also have the confidence to tackle problems as an individual. But crucially, I think it's done so in a safe, nurturing environment that is the PE classroom. And so when children leave that safe, nurturing classroom, hopefully they are better equipped to deal with environments that can sometimes be a little bit harsher and more brutal, such as the workplace. And there's also an element here about tackling inequalities. So research also suggests, for instance, that children from low-income families get less opportunities to to take part in leadership and so on, compared to their sort of more affluent peers. And so PELSA is a universal offer within a classroom, or as a targeted offer, deliberately ensuring that certain pupils have access to this. It's a really great mechanism, I think, to redress that balance a little bit. And there's no reason why it should diminish the PE experience. This is not about getting pens and paper out instead of footballs and shuttlecocks and things like that. It should absolutely add and enrich that experience, and hopefully make it more relevant and pertinent to more children who traditional PE can sometimes not be. Last slide for me, guys, for now. And so I think there's a real imperative in and of itself, and a real rationale in and of itself as to why PE life skills is a great thing to have in PE lessons. But just a little nod to some of those external influences, such as Ofsted, when we are able to talk about developing the whole child and talk about developing things like personal development and contributing to whole school sort of behaviours and attitudes and things like that, and other aspects that are potentially coming around the corner in light of the curriculum assessment review and the enrichment framework and so on and so forth. I think that the PE Life Skills Award is also a really beneficial whole school sort of metric and whole school approach to have when providing children with not just physical competence through PE, but also those broader soft skills that we talk about. Over to Jade.
Thanks, James. So yeah, following on, it isn't just whole school approach. The great thing about PE Life Skills Award is that it's underpinned by physical literacy, which is a holistic approach for every child. Put very simply, we want to provide children, young people with enough positive movement experiences so that they develop a meaningful relationship with physical activity. The diagram that you can see summarises the role of PE in relation to a physical literacy applied approach. So by embedding life skills within your PE curriculum, you're able to give meaning to all your pupils, not just the ones who are naturally more physically capable. This award gives everyone a chance to shine by dedicating that time to celebrate differences through showcasing skills and understanding across the 4 domains there. So of course, the physical domain, but also the emotional, which is skills such as resilience, self-belief, honesty, cognitive, which includes skills based on concentration, curiosity, problem solving, and then social, which is where you could focus on skills like fairness, respect, and communication. So therefore, developing and engaging the whole child. Each stage of the PE Life Skills Award has a recognition framework resource as well. We'll show you that in a minute. That actually is broken down into these 4 domains, which allows you to focus on the relevant skills for improvement. So there are 8 skills for each domain, but when you deliver the award, you don't need to teach all of them. You choose which ones suit the needs of your children, young people, or work with them to choose what they want to develop in. So delivering PE with this life skills approach has many benefits, ranging from developing confidence and competence across all 4 domains, equipping children, young people with knowledge and skills, not just for in school, but for life, allowing that space for everyone to achieve, as well as growing their awareness of the importance of an active lifestyle, or to name just a few. So next slide, please, Gaz. So stages, when we talk about the 5 PE Life Skills Award stages, they roughly align with the different key stages at school, but they aren't age locked. We know that children and young people learn and develop at different rates, and have tried to reflect that with the resources that are created. So whilst stage 1 is typically recommended for those aged 4 to 7, key stage 1, and stage 2 for ages 7 to 11, key stage 2, it is just a guide. So rather than focusing strictly on age or year group, we want you to think about and to be able to focus on the developmental stage of the young people you're working with. So this might mean, for example, using different stage journals within the same class or within the same group that you deliver to. And that's absolutely, completely okay. It might mean the task or the learning that they are part of in the actual class may be pretty similar, but then when they come to record this in their learning journal and the learning that they've gone through, the actual activity that they complete will hopefully be more tailored to them and their abilities. So yeah, just a quick note to kind of say, remember, you know your pupils best, and hopefully PELSA, PE Life Skills Award, is designed to give you that flexibility to really respond to the needs of your children, young people, and certainly not restrict them or yourself or your teaching. Now, I think, as we're going to go through the different resources.
Yeah, thank you both. Just before I do that, I can't see there's any questions in the chat, but does anybody have any questions on the overview of the award before we look into the resources? Please feel free to raise your hand and we'll come and unmute you, or keep typing away if you haven't done so, and we'll be gladly answering those questions as we go through. Okay, no hands up and no questions, so that's telling me move on. Next, we're going to look at the resources. So when you purchase a license to deliver PELSA, which we'll talk about later on as to how to do that, you get access to the resources to deliver the award. They are online, and rather than just show you screenshots of what they look like, we're going to give you a little bit of a guided tour of the resources so you become familiar with that. So I'm just going to flick screen a second, bear with me.
And there's quite a few resources for us to show you, so please do ask questions or ask us to repeat things or show you something in a bit more detail if it's useful. There's quite a lot to try and guide you through in a short space of time.
Okay, that should be sharing it for everybody now.
I can see that.
Real. So Jay's going to talk over it. I'm going to click through different areas.
Okay, great stuff. Thanks, guys. So as you can see here, we've got the different stages, as I've just spoken about, roughly related to each key stage. But just for demonstration purposes, should we go into stage 1 there, guys? So once you're in, you should see a couple of resources straight away. The recognition framework is there, as well as the learning journals. So the recognition framework goes into, as I think I mentioned, a bit of detail about the 4 domains and each skill within there. And then the learning journals, we've got 3 different types for you to choose from. This has been based on feedback, as Gaz said at the start, to make it more simple, more flexible, and easy to navigate. So we've got the original learning journal. That's the full journal. It's got everything in there. It's got absolutely every skill for every domain. So there's 8 times 4, 32 different skills included in that journal. Whereas the second one, you can see, it just is lighter in colour. So we know printing costs and time, all of that is still an issue in schools. So we didn't want you to be spending as much money printing them, hence why it's lighter in colour. Hopefully it's a bit cheaper to get printed. And then on top of that, we've got the new learning journal. And as you can see, it says pick up and go. This is a slimmed down version. So rather than yourself being quite possibly overwhelmed by all 32 skills, we have selected 4 skills for each domain for you, and you can literally just teach what's in there. It's great. It's pick up and go. It's nice and easy. The downside is that if you wanted, for example, to focus on resilience, it might not be in that learning journal because we've kept it out, and the children, young people might do that at a later stage or might have done it at an earlier stage. So if you want to pick and choose and actually completely tailor it to the young people you've got in front of you, I would suggest using the full journal. If you are on a bit of a journey, and if you're in a primary school, as I was, you might do stage 1, then stage 2. You will see that that's a learning process that we've created for you, where you don't need to stop and think about the different skills to utilise and to focus on. Hopefully that makes sense. Do we want to show the teacher handbook and things as well, or? Yeah, perfect. Oh, sorry, you were on it. Do
you want to go through the ones you've just done now, Gemma?
The ones we've done now first?
Yeah.
Should we show them? Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, here's the recognition framework. So if we go down, this is for stage 1. So for the youngest, or the children that are working at a slightly lower ability. So here is the physical domain, and the 8 skills or 8 areas to focus on within the physical. This one's slightly different because we've included PE lessons, physical activity, extracurricular, community, and competitive sport. So the actual context in which the children are learning are included in the physical. Whereas if we go down, the next 3 domains, so social, here are the 8 skills. And as I was mentioning, you don't have to do all 8, you do 4 of those. And then we go down through from social into emotional. Again, it gives you examples of what the teachers yourself might observe when you're delivering, or when the children are involved in an activity, and what you might hear from the children and young people as well. And then there's the same thing, but for the final domain, which is thinking skills. So they're all there. That's just hints and prompts for you as a teacher. And then looking at the actual learning journal, I think this is the, if we got the full, this is the full learning journal here. And there is an activity as you go through for each skill that you might focus on. So the physical skills, all about leading an active life. There's colouring in, there's circling activities, as I said, but this is for your younger children. And then social skills, as you can see, there's trust here, respect. So it goes through each skill, and there's an activity that matches that skill. It isn't just open the book, let's do the activity. Hopefully within your PE lesson, you will be focusing on trust. And then once they've had a couple of PE lessons, however you want to deliver it, weeks, a whole term of trust, they would then recognise this learning in their journal. And as you can see as well, it is a digital version. So Gaz is there. He can actually tick and cross and fill in the boxes as well by typing. It doesn't have to be printed. However, it might be quite difficult to manage everybody with laptops and things if you don't have access. So again, you've got the choice there. So hopefully that's helpful to see the learning journal and how it breaks down into the different activities. And please do bear in mind, this is stage 1. There is a learning journal for each stage as well. Great, thanks, Gaz.
Thanks, Jade. James, you want to talk about the PowerPoints?
Is this me? Yep. Shall I talk first about the PowerPoints, Gaz, and then just talk about those documents that underpin all of the stages?
Yeah.
Or shall I do those first? Okie dokie. So, yeah, as Gaz mentioned, we've had opportunity over the years now to take some really rich feedback from people who've been through the award and provided suggestions on what was working well and what was working not quite so well. And some of those changes to the journals, for instance, have come as a direct result of that. And so have these lesson support slides. So there are 3 sets of PowerPoint slides. One that covers, again, as Jade's mentioned, there isn't a hard and fast rule over a stage that equates to an age, but we've broadly created a PowerPoint resource that is appropriate in language wise, in example wise for primary age groups. We've done the same thing for secondary age groups, and then likewise we've done the same thing for post 16, which you would most commonly, I imagine, associate with children who are accessing the award at a stage 5. So just to go through a little bit of what this entails. So the PowerPoint is divided into those 3 domains, the emotional, the social, and the cognitive. And for each of the life skills then that falls under those domains, we've got this common layout of the title at the top. So for this one, you can see self-belief. And then we've got a really simple and child-friendly, hopefully, definition of what self-belief is. We've got some synonyms around that support that life skill, and then some concrete examples that of how you might see self-belief in PE and outside of PE, and also some non-examples of that. And then as well as some sort of application of that life skill, so sort of why it matters in terms of self-belief, and then some sort of introspective thinking around, you know, how are you in relation to that life skill? When was the last time that you surprised yourself and had a go, to use the example on the screen? So hopefully what they provide you with is, and again, a little bit like Jade's just said in terms of the digitalization of the journals, depending on your setting, you know, you could potentially, in a secondary, for instance, kick the lesson off by showing this on a screen and introducing, we're looking at self-belief. Here's an introduction to it. We're gonna unpick self-belief over the course of the next however many weeks that we look at it. First of all, in this first lesson, we just really want you to have a really solid understanding of what it is. So they, you know, introduce the definition and so on. And so hopefully it provides you with a platform to really embed the understanding of these sort of abstract life skills and turn them into sort of concrete examples in and through your teaching. And so the other thing from me, I guess, is to say that Jade's been through in really good detail the sort of some of the specifics on stage 1. So those resources are duplicated across stages 2, 3, 4, and 5. But as you can imagine, going through the stages, the sort of matrices, the measurement of how you achieve each of the life skills becomes progressively more difficult, so that the learning and the demonstration of each of the life skills is richer and covers more context and nuance and so on, and goes from this idea of discovering a life skill all the way through to having real autonomy and agency across that life skill, and really advocating it. So you'd start to think about people who are sports leaders and so on, I think, in towards stages 4 and 5. And so each of those are very specific for each stage, and likewise with the journals, they are made more appropriate depending on the stage. But then there's also some resources that underpin all of those stages. So a teacher handbook, which serves as a manual, a walkthrough guide that you can refer back to, and that covers really sort of logistical things such as, you know, how do I get started and get registered, and who do I contact in Leadership Skills Foundation or Youth Sport Trust, as well as a sort of walkthrough guide and a reminder on how to use each of the other supporting resources. And then likewise, there are some sort of tracker resources in the form of these on the screen, which help you to do just that, to track pupils and the life skills that you're covering off, and the extent to which they have been assessed against and have met those life skills. I don't think I'm treading on toes of future content when I say assessment is your judgment, and whilst as is the case with any assessment, you would need to use professional judgment and integrity, and hold the line and have relevant mechanisms and standards to ensure that this award was robust and held some kudos and and so on within your department and within your pupils. But it is also it does bring with that some flexibility, so that you can dip into, for instance, the journals as and when you need to. You don't need to get the children filling out those journals in order to meet the assessment. So as to when and to what extent each of the children have met the Life Skills Award is down to you. There isn't an external sort of validation of that process. Have I missed anything, Gaz and Jade? I think I'm ready to move us on.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, James. Whilst we've been going through resources, I can see a couple of questions have come in. So, Joe, do you want to highlight those for us to answer, please?
Yeah, of course. So Graham's asked, does the award have any crossover with the PHSE curriculum? And in particular, does the Stage 3 course link to KS3 PHSE and the curriculum?
Yeah, I can jump in a bit there. So, and I think you've mentioned Key Stage 3, but we know there's definite crossover with PSHE. Some schools choose to align the two. We do know that. And with the focus on personal development, character building, relationships and social skills, self-management, decision-making, preparation for life, all of those key words definitely filter into this way of working. So even though it's through PE, we do know we've had some schools that actually the whole school focuses on one of the skills for a half term, let's say, for example, and every element of their learning, whether it be English, PSHE, history, art, will focus on that skill. And as they're sorry, I've got feedback. As they're walking through school, they might open doors for each other. They might, they might spot it in everyday life of their school environment as well. So I've gone a bit on a tangent there, but it does have crossover, and we do know schools have kind of merged the two together. James, I don't know if you've got anything to add with it being more Key Stage 3, but
yeah, apologies, I was scrambling, doing the scramble for mute and not doing it successfully there, but no. Yeah, thanks, Jade. I mean, I guess in answer to that, there isn't a direct, we haven't linked it explicitly and directly, but I think much like at the beginning when I mentioned that this is a real great contributor to things like the personal development agenda as part of the Ofsted inspection framework. Likewise, as aligned to some of the examples Jade's just given, this can absolutely contribute to aspects of PSHE and health curriculum. Although it would take a little bit of mapping, I think, to really optimize how you were able to track that and align that with with whoever in your school taught PSHE, because I know it can be very different from one school to the next, where your PE is already directly linked and often taught by PE teachers in secondary schools. Then I imagine that is pretty straightforward to bolster your existing provision. Apologies, I hope that somewhat answers your question, albeit I appreciate that is a little bit vague.
Brilliant, thank you both. Graham, if you want to make any follow-up for that, please do raise your hand and we'll come to you and have that dialogue as well. To move us on, are there any other questions about the resources that anyone would like answering? There was a question about, are the resources editable, the journals, and we've showed that in the digital example there. You can type into them, there's tick box examples, as well as them being printable, and they can handwrite them. So there's flexibility in how you're going to make use of those. But I can't see any other questions on resources. So let's move along to the next section. And we're going to look at sharing good practice. So what we've got in a second, we've got some fantastic delivery examples from 3 schools to share with you. We're going to make full version of these available to you afterwards, so you have to read them in your own time, share with colleagues and look at in more detail. We've got one from a primary, one from a secondary and one from an SEND setting. So we're going to give you a bit more context to each of those settings, because we're aware on the session today we've got different schools, so please do ask questions which are specific to those. Firstly, we're going to look at primary, and this is an example we've got from Twining Primary School, and Jade's going to give you a little bit of example about this one.
Great, thanks, Gaz. So yeah, this is a wonderful case study that really brings to life how one teacher in particular has brought the PE Life Skills Award to life in two separate primary settings. He's taken it from one and then continued with it into his new school. And I suppose the why for him really believing in PE life skills and deciding to deliver it was that holistic approach and the intention of delivering a real personal development program. He knew the importance of that and wanted to, believing in PE, but then wanting to allow others to come on that journey with him and not be left behind if they weren't the most sporty children, as I say with quotes. And how he did it, he actually did the stage 2 learning journals with year 4 and 5, and that was with one set of children. That seemed to be how it worked. But then moving to a new setting, it was interesting to hear that he actually used stage 1 with year 3 and stage 2 with year 5. So again, it shows that flexibility, and just it's all about knowing your children, where they're at, whether it's with the whole class or a certain targeted group, really knowing them and tailoring it to what they need. He also delivered this as an additional lesson to PE, so that I suppose kind of on that point that it was within PSHE and an extra learning opportunity to really delve a bit deeper into each of the skills rather than hoping they happen through osmosis or chance as he was teaching PE. I suppose the key highlights within this case study were the student impact. He saw a massive boost in confidence and self-esteem, which we know are two key things to really focus on with our children, young people, especially at the moment. And that word resilient, they had a much more can-do approach after taking part in this award. They were just more confident and able to deal with new challenges more effectively, but also confidently. And then I suppose something that we might not always think about straight away, but that wider school benefit, he reported that there was actually an improvement in behaviour and in attendance at his school. So with those children becoming more confident, being seen, being heard, feeling more and more of a sense of belonging within their school, it had a great effect on behaviour and attendance as well, which we know are key issues that are happening in most schools at the moment. Within this case study, it also mentions their Ofsted report, which was in 2024, so fairly recent. I know it's changed since, but it was highlighted that this approach and this focus on developing pupils beyond the academic was praiseworthy, and they really, the Ofsted inspectors really highlighted that. And with it actually being mentioned in the report, they could obviously see that through all aspects of school life, which is fantastic. And then a couple of top tips that he's mentioned are to please have a clear targeted approach. So really think about which children this will work for, when you will fit it into your timetable, how you'll go about it, the reason why, what is your why for taking on this award, what are you trying to improve, whether it is attendance and behaviour or whether it is a group of young people that have low confidence. And another top tip that was basically don't rush it, don't try and do everything all at once. I know that we're possibly bombarding you with lots and lots of information, hopefully helpful. So take your time to read everything, to look at everything, and then pick that targeted group of people. Or you might do it with the whole class, but know your why and their why as well. Yeah, so really successful, really great school. We've got lots of them, but I won't go into any more. I'll pass over to James for the secondary example.
Thanks, Jade. Yeah, so the secondary example, as you can see on screen, comes from Formby High School in Liverpool. Yeah, and this one really resonates with me because I think first of all, it demonstrates the flexibility of the PE Life Skills Award. So, for instance, I can picture the PE Life Skills Award being really applicable at certain transition points throughout a secondary pupil's life. So, for instance, you could use this universally with all of your new sevens in order to, you know, create those learners that you want that are, you know, that have those basic sort of behaviours to cope with the PE environment that is often very different and varied compared to a classroom environment. Or you could target a bunch of year nines who are potentially, you know, not showing some of these sort of life skills, or as is, I imagine, very sort of familiar and potentially resonates with people on the call who are from secondary schools, as Formby High School did. They chose to target Key Stage 4 pupils and specifically Year 11. And initially that might seem a strange choice, given that Year 11 is quite a stressful and full-on time of year in a child's educational career, such is the nature of our rigorous sort of exam protocols and so on. But anyone who's taught in secondary will probably also recognize that Key Stage 4 PE can fall by the wayside as a result of that. It can become, I think, undermined and potentially undervalued due to quite frequent decisions around, for instance, taking children out of PE to do things like additional English and maths and so on for intervention. And so the choice from this school was to really add and bolster the purpose and the experience of children in Year 11 in PE. And you know, this idea of Key Stage 4 PE sometimes diminishing in terms of purpose has been noted by sort of external bodies. So Ofsted mentioned it in their research review series, and it got a specific mention in the recent curriculum assessment review final report, that Key Stage 4 PE in particular can be susceptible to you know, almost being made up as you go along in order to just win engagement from the pupils. So in an attempt to add real purpose and to really bolster engagement, but I think also fair to say really add and freshen up staff enthusiasm towards teaching Key Stage 4 PE, because that can also wane when you are met with constant barriers of pupils being removed and pupils not having the kit because they were due to be in intervention and so on and so forth. And pupils ultimately, I think, sometimes losing their love of PE and movement, particularly if they've had a negative experience in the lead up to that. And this was a real attempt to recapture that and to really make that connection between what you can achieve in and through PE in the form of life skills and the connection with next steps. How that will benefit the children once they move on into their careers, into their relationships, into sixth form or college or employment, and really make that link explicit, because we know that those skills that we develop through things like PE and sport, they don't always, they're not always clear to young people when they are asked to exemplify them. And so what this school found was that you know, the children were much clearer that actually through these experiences of sport, through these experiences of PE, yeah, when I'm in an interview, I can talk about times where I've shown resilience. I can talk about what makes me, you know, a good team player. How a time when I've communicated effectively, and in turn, in doing so, that adds relevance to a greater range of pupils who don't necessarily who aren't necessarily driven by the relevance of just movement and PE in and of itself. So yeah, it was a really great example, I think, and one that I think is really relevant and quite widespread. If my experiences of teaching PE are anything to go by, I know that this would have been a really great fit for me in my settings. Over to you guys, I think.
Brilliant, thank you, James. The third case that we have is from a pupil referral unit, the Beacon Pro. So it's an example of an alternative education provider. And with the schools that we've got from SEND settings, there's obviously great flexibility in people needs, some quite complex, some behavioural issues and so on. And what we found is the schools that delivered it in those settings have told us the flexibility of the award to personalise it to the needs of those pupils has worked really well. And in this particular example, it's had a huge impact on the curriculum. There's a cohesion between the curriculum and core provision for pupils with those complex needs. So they've been really able to progress key areas within certain pupils. And they finished with I won't read the whole thing here. As I said, we're going to share these afterwards so you can have a look at them. But as a final line that they've told us as part of this case study, that it's become integral and a valuable part of their daily PE and active provision. And it brings such benefits now, they couldn't be without it. But just goes to show they've really embedded it, really bought into it, and the pupils have really valued how they've developed throughout it. And you can see the picture of the two pupils on the left there smiling away. So a picture paints 1,000 words in those cases. So as I said, we'll make those case studies available to you. You can have a look in detail and think about how that might resonate with you in your individual settings. Just to move along then, so as a bit of a recap point and a bit of a pause after looking at those examples and the different settings, does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask? Please feel free to raise your hand and we'll come and unmute you so we can have that dialogue. Unless there's any questions in the chat, Joe, I can't see any from my screen.
Haven't got any more, I'm afraid, no, but hopefully at some point.
We're going to take that as a good thing that we're answering all your questions as we're going along, but please do ask. There's no silly questions and we'd be glad to answer them and have that interaction as we go along. I'm sure if you're thinking a question, someone else is thinking a very similar one. So please do tap away or raise your hand and we'll do that one final thing at the end. So a couple of final bits, which I'm going to cover off, is kind of how to get set up in the next steps. So as I mentioned earlier, this is an accredited award offered through the Leadership Skills Foundation. So in order to deliver the award, you sign up through us, and there's an approval stage just to make sure you've got the things in place to deliver the award. So if you're in a school setting, you're going to have those things in place. It's not a question of jumping through hoops unnecessarily. It's an opportunity for us to identify where you might need any support. We give you access to the resources that we showed you earlier on. We can walk you through those and tailor them to your needs if you've got any questions. We provide you with an approval certificate, which you can display in your school. We know a lot of schools like displaying them in their reception areas or notice boards to show the different things that they're offering within their school. At the end of your delivery, so delivery can take place over a different time frame. It doesn't necessarily have to be set in stone that it's across a full academic year, for example. Some might embed it across a term, across 2 terms, across the full year. It might be across multiple years. So there's no time frame exactly. When you reach the end of your delivery of a group, we ask you to complete a simple awards completion and feedback form online, which gives us some simple feedback about how you found it, tells us how many learners have gone through it, allows you to tell us what's worked well for your setting. If things aren't working well, it gives us that feedback that we can change things moving forward. We can improve things to help other schools and so on. And at that point, we're gladly issuing you with certificates for the learners that have completed the award. And they're stage specific. So if you delivered stage 1, you'll get a certificate saying stage 1 with the year that you delivered it in. As the organisation you'll deal with, we also deal with the invoicing side of things and the administration. So any question you've got can come through to myself or Joe or one of our colleagues, and we'll support you with anything you need. A couple of questions have fired through as I was talking there. Joe, do you want to relay those ones?
Yeah, of course. So the first one we've got is from Paul. He's asked, sorry, do you have any examples of how this has been delivered in an MLD or PMLD setting? So by that, I think it means profound or multiple learning disabilities.
We may have a previous case, so I'll need to look. Paul, if you get in touch with us directly with an email, which with the address we're going to share at the end there, we'll see if we can offer you some more contextual ones for you there.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. And then Danica's asked, they already do the level 1 sports leaders course with us. Would this then feed into that?
Yes, it's a great example of how you could feed into it. So this award is all about recognising the skills they're developing and utilising across their life. Obviously, if you're dealing with sports leaders, you're focused on the leadership aspects and how they're going to be using those as a leader. So by developing these skills through the PE Life Skills Award, it might be a forerunner to progressing onto a Leadership Skills Award where they're really putting into practice and demonstrating those and gaining qualification as opposed to this being an award at that stage.
Thank you, guys.
Anything else, Joe?
Yeah, just the final one was from Catherine. She's asked how much it is to sign up.
Perfect. And that's the next slide we're going to move on to. So perfect timing, Catherine. So how the award works is you work on a license across each academic year. So obviously we're in the 25-26 academic year. The license costs are on screen there, and they are different depending on what setting you're in and what age group you're working with them. And you get access across the stages. So you're not purchasing it per stage, you'll get across stage access. And really importantly, it's for an unlimited amount of pupils you want to work with. So as we saw in the example towards the start, we had a school that delivered over 300 children in a year. So there's no limit. You can start small with a particular group. It might be with a particular class or intervention group, or it could be rolled out across a whole year group or a whole school group. So really flexible as to how you want to deliver that. To sign up, really simple. There's a web page, which is the link on screen there. And there's a QR code you can scan, which will take you straight through to that web page, because I appreciate it's quite a long URL. On there, it's a simple sign up form, which asks you for your details of your school and to identify which setting you're looking at delivering it in. And then our admin team will process that and sort you out with an invoice and provide you with the next steps for getting approved and getting set up to access resources. So that's the next steps if you were interested in signing up after today's session. If you have further questions after today you think of, we're going to send you a follow-up email with a link to the recording and a link to those case studies so you can have a look at. You can reach Jade and James via the top web email address here, which is the Youth Sport Trust one. So if you've got questions about how to embed it within the curriculum, if you've got specific questions about whether it be primary, Jade's going to be your person and James for secondary, please feel free to email them. If it's about administering it, getting set up, invoicing, certification, then email the Leadership Skills Foundation through the email address at the bottom, and we'll support you as part of that journey. So just before we wrap up, we're going to come to see if there's any more questions. So please feel free to type them in or raise your hands, and we'll cover them off. James, I'm going to point that question in my direction. Go on, Jay, you go for it.
You go ahead, Gaz. Yeah, there's just a question in the chat, so you can relay that if you want.
Okay. Use of school sports premium for the award, Jade.
Yeah, I spotted that one. Thanks, Katie. Great question, and absolutely, it's a great use of your school sport premium, especially if you've got possible underspend for this year. You can't carry it over, so it's a great way to spend that money. And if you need any support with that or how to document it, we cover that off later in the year as well through the Sport Trust webinars and things. But yes, no, never an underspend. Absolutely not. That's good to hear. Some schools do, though. Some schools do, believe it or not. But yeah, great use of it. Thanks, Katie. Go on, James.
Yeah, just from a secondary point of view, it's worth. This is really attractive whole school, and so in terms of whole school budgets, like the exams budget, for instance, if you are, if this becomes part of your practice, that I don't know, all year 9s or all year 11s or whatever get this evidence of developing these life skills that contribute towards Gatsby benchmarks or personal development, whatever, it is worth potentially asking outside of your PE department budget, because to quote a chat we had on from a Manchester school, like he said his exams budget holder couldn't write the check fast enough. So yeah, worth looking outside of your PE budget as well in a secondary setting.
Thank you. Katie, the academic year runs from August through to July each year, which is the way we work on things. So yeah, the academic year typically as you see it. Any further questions from anybody before we wrap up? Okay, well, if you do think of something afterwards, as I say, please do contact us via the email address on screen there. Just leaves me to say a massive thank you for your time this afternoon. We hope you found it really useful and you've discovered all about the PE Life Skills Award, which is our aim. We hope you've been interested enough to look at the next steps and look at how you can set it within your schools. Please do get in touch if you want to ask any more questions. The link to sign up is on there as well, so I'll just go back to that screen just for 1 second. But really appreciate your time today, and we look forward to working with you in the future. And a big thank you also to Jane and James for your expertise, and Joe for your support in managing the admin and the question side of it. So a wonderful team effort. Thank you, everybody.